Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet. Hello and welcome back to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad, where we are here today for a very, very special edition. Isn't that right, Wes?
We are here for one of the best editions we're ever going to do. That's right, Andrea. Guess where we're at?
Tell us.
Yeah.
You guys aren't going to guess in a million years. It's super exciting.
We are in Chesty Puller's, what is this, living room, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know who Chesty Puller is, not everybody can know everything about the Marine Corps, even though you should. Chesty Puller is the most decorated Marine in the United States Marine Corps. And did I ever tell you what the greatest fighting force in the history of the world is?
The Navy?
It's the United States Marine Corps.
I believe you have told me that on several occasions.
Well, we are a department of the Navy, but the men's department. And we appreciate you guys being our Uber, so thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys need transportation, so we're here to deliver.
I know it. So we're doing a special edition for the Marine Corps birthday. We got invited by Nate and Alex. Alex owns the house, and they invited us. They're Marines as well. So Andrea is surrounded by 3 Marines. She's divinely protected, and we're in Chesty Puller's house. And what a beautiful home this is. So we are super excited to do this special edition, honoring the United States Marine Corps, honoring the United States Navy. Thank you for listening to the podcast. We are in 12 different countries or so now, at least.
Yes, at last count. So
Yeah.
it's probably more than that now.
It's more than that because some of the analytics are a little goofy.
Yeah.
So what's the new one? We just picked up somebody.
Ooh, who did we? China?
China.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
know.
we're huge in Russia.
Yeah, Russia's killing it. Yeah, we're blasting it out in the United States, and we've just been really blessed with this. We've got the rebirthing ceremony. So when this comes out, the rebirthing ceremony will have already been done, right?
Yes, I believe by the time this comes out, we will have actually wrapped up season 2.
Yeah. So that wasn't painful at all for me. Maybe
Right?
a little.
Okay. Maybe a lot.
Yeah. So Andrea, the United States Marine Corps was created in a place called Tongue Tavern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's the only branch of the military. Is the Navy military? Or is that civil service?
Oh my gosh.
I think that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
civil service. But we are the only military that was generated and created in a bar called Tongue Tavern.
That really just seems fitting, doesn't it?
It does, because we're badasses. Yeah. I love the Marine Corps. The Second Continental Congress passed a bill that 2 battalions of Marines were going to be created, and they did the recruitment in that bar.
I love it. A little piece of Marine history.
Yeah. I bet you, if you signed the paper, Nate, they probably gave you a free drink. You know, Marines are known to drink and fight a little bit, but
No, you don't say.
it's what we get paid to do. So this is going to be such a fun episode. And I wanted to introduce my friend Nate and my friend Alex. And Alex owns this place. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, super excited, super grateful to be here. And so, let's turn it over to Alex.
Yeah. So Alex, welcome to the show. Thank you for having us to your beautiful home.
Thank you for this opportunity. We're proud and honored to have you here today.
Thanks. So how long have you owned Chesty Puller's house?
We closed on the home in June of 2022, so a little over 2 years now.
Nice. I got to be honest. I mean, this is stunning. It is a beautiful home. And we were talking before we started the podcast. I can hear Chesty talk to me, which is fun. And he's here. He's pleased. He really likes that you and your family are doing this and taking this project on. And from one Marine to another, I want to say thank you too, because this is our heritage. This is who we are. This is our culture. And people need to know about it. So tell us a little bit about what is going on here? Can people come see the house? How does that work?
Sure. And first of all, thank you for sharing that with me. It's nice to know that Chesty's approved of everything we've done for the home. So that means a lot to me, sharing that.
You're welcome.
This all started back in June of 2022. I belonged to about a dozen Facebook groups, military themed. And the owner prior to me had posted on Facebook on a Tuesday that the Puller house was up for sale. And I didn't even know there was a Puller house after 26 years in the Marine Corps. But more importantly, I jokingly turned and looked at my wife and said, could you imagine owning Chesty Puller's home in Virginia? And I thought, well, why not? Let's just make a run at it. And what started out as just a curiosity, that following Saturday at 5 o'clock, we got the phone call that said, congratulations, you're now Virginia property owners. And it just absolutely floored me that I never really thought I would be in serious contention, but we represented everything the owners were looking for, which is passing it on to another Marine who would ensure that all the history in the home since 1920 was not lost, was someone who had no appreciation for historical archives or anything and lose all the history here. So that's how it all started, and it has become a labor of love, learning everything about Chesty, things I'd never known before, and just trying to find out everything about the home, pictures, things around town. And it has become pretty much my number one passion right now. Every time I get the opportunity to come up here is to continue to do things to bring it up to what I would like to proudly show everybody is, not a museum, but it is our home. We want to share it with Marines for years to come. It's a special shrine. And when I tell my friends, or even someone I meet in the airport, I see it has a Marine Corps hat on, and I introduce myself, and I give them my card, and I said, well, I own the Puller house. Sometimes you get this expression like I bought Graceland, and that's how passionate a lot of Marines are. When I tell them I own the Puller house, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like I bought Graceland. So I never dreamed back 2 years ago that meant that much to Marines. So it's something we've just loved doing and spending time with.
Well, I didn't know it was here. I think a lot of people didn't know it was here. And Nate's like, hey, I got a friend that owns this. Do you want to go? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to go. So I've been super excited to get here. And now can people reach out to you to come see it, or what would that look like?
Yeah, they can. And again, this is our home, even though I primarily reside in Dallas. It is our second home. It's not an Airbnb, and it never will be. But it is a home for my family when we come up here, like my own little Camp David. But when we are here, we will announce on our Facebook page at Puller House dates and times when it'll be open, like next month for 3 or 4 days during the Marine Corps birthday. And people will stop by or text me or shoot a message to me on Facebook saying, we're bringing 10, 20 from the VFW, and they'll come in and have birthday cake, and we'll do shots. So we do try to let people know as much as possible who follow us when it is available. And sometimes people will just pull up from North Dakota saying we're on our way to Florida and we heard about it. Do you mind if we come on in? I said, help yourselves. And sometimes my Ring doorbell will go off while I'm in Dallas, and I'll just see people coming up, standing on the porch, taking pictures, and going away. So it's such a pleasure seeing people enjoying something like that.
Nice. So tell us again what your Facebook page is.
At Puller House, PULLERHOUSE.
Nice. Well, everybody listen, you have to go there. You have to like it. You have to start following, tell your friends. All our Marine Corps brothers and sisters, we need to put this out. We need to let people know this is an opportunity. And this is really cool. You showed us some of the memorabilia that you had here. I mean, there's some really cool knives and stuff like that. And if you had to pick one thing, and there's a lot of things here, what's your favorite?
Wow, good question. I'd have to take a quick look around.
For those of you on the podcast, there is so many unique things. Pictures of Chesty as a young Marine, pictures of his family, knives, K-bars, uniforms, just all these really, really interesting things.
I would have to say, over here to my left, there's a picture of Chesty sitting here in the living room. This was his favorite room. It was his reading room. He loved reading and was really into Stonewall Jackson, a lot of military history. And so that picture is, when I look at it and I'm sitting in this chair that I tried to replicate the same style of chair, that I would have to say is why I could stare at that picture relentlessly and feel like I'm sitting right here next to Chesty Puller.
Yeah, that's cool. I've got a friend of mine, Ben. I'm not going to say his last name. I don't have permission to, but we served together in second tanks, and he lives, I'm not quite sure where he lives, but he's got this really gorgeous barn, and he basically recreated Tongue Tavern in his barn. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It looks like it. It's badass. And he was an awesome leader of men, and watching him honor his fallen brothers and stuff every year has been tough to watch, because I know that's hard for him. It's hard for all of us. But Ben, if you're listening to the show, man, we love you. We appreciate you. Lots of respect for you. I've always had respect for you, and just know that you're not alone. None of us are alone. I just love you, brother. So
The runner-up to your question would be the picture I showed you earlier, the small silver-framed, probably a picture of Chesty when he was a captain, picture I'd never seen. Of all the pictures you can find on the internet, mostly there's older pictures of him, but the fact that came into our possession several months ago, and it has a P engraved on the frame, meaning at one point in time it belonged to the Puller house. That one was particularly struck me very emotionally, to have that honor, having that back into the home. So that would be the runner-up to it.
Well, that was like a divine intervention, right? Or something like that. I mean, I think you said this lady just came up out of the blue and showed it to you?
Years ago, before I joined the Marine Corps, I always thought people were lucky when you hear good things that would happen to people. And I was known as the black sheep of the family, the runt, and that could never do right. And that's why I joined the Marine Corps. I knew I'd be dead or in jail literally in a week.
You and I both,
walked
brother.
to the recruiting station. I didn't care what my MOS was. I was like, take me. Literally, Dallas County DA is going to put me in jail. I know it. And there's another interesting story I'll tell you, when we're done, something that prompted that. But years later, the way my career panned out, all of the opportunities I had, it seemed like it was a script that I was following, that had been written out. And it wasn't until years later, like even getting this home, that I realized I have an expression that goes, fate rarely calls upon us at a time of our choosing. And that's when I realized it wasn't luck. There was a series of things that happened the day I walked in that recruiting station, unbeknownst to me, that 40 years later, I would have owned a piece of history. I mean, if you told me in boot camp, one day, Private, you're going to own Chesty Puller, so I was like, man, these DIs are on drugs.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized this was a 40-year journey that started a long time before I even joined the Marine Corps. And when you think about all the things, the millions of things that had to work perfectly, the fact that Nate, I was his first OIC coming right out of boot camp, out of MOS school. I knew him as a PFC. And here we are, 20, 30 years later. And if it wasn't for Nate, we wouldn't be standing here. That wasn't just luck. That was fate. That there was a chapter written that at some point I became friends with Nate, and then I get the house. So it is just, when I think about all the things that had to happen to the split, there is a higher power. I'm telling you, this could not have been a fluke that I ended up being the proud owner of this home, for being such a screw up. Yeah. In fact, when I tell friends, in the movie Forrest Gump, when Forrest gets the Medal of Honor and he's leaving the building, the back of the building, and he runs into Lieutenant Dan, and he says, they gave you the Congressional Medal of Honor. He said, yes, sir. And he asked him again. When I tell friends of mine like Nate, have known me for years, the screw up I was, when I go, they sold you Chesty Puller's house, I'm like, yes, sir. Like, they sold you Chesty Puller's house. They amazed it. You seriously? The guy that probably shouldn't even made Lance Corporal now owns Chesty Puller house. So didn't mean to go off on that. It's just, that's why it's so special to me that this was something that was designed and written by a higher power 40-something years ago. Said, you need to do this because you're the one who will keep this in the Marine Corps family.
Yep, absolutely. I believe that 100%. And I didn't always think that way in my life, but I do now. And I seen this picture one day, and it was on Facebook or something, where this picture, this painting was turned and facing away from you, and you're seeing just like these colors. It just, you basically almost like a tear in the fabric. And the point was, if we could see what God sees, and then they showed on the other side this beautiful painting, everything's laid out for us. Everything is divinely placed for us, right? And one of the things we talk about in the show is life happens for you and not to you. And I believe that everything that happens in your life, whether it's good or bad, is supposed to happen. Even if it was looked at as a mistake, that mistake was supposed to happen. And this was laid out for you, and this was supposed to be yours because, there's a bigger picture here. And that bigger picture is you preserving this and and bringing your love and your passion and your courage and your strength to the table to save this. And that's what Chesty does. Just the mention of his name brings light to the room. Yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah, and what happened 2 years ago is just having the opportunity to have people come visit. Tomorrow, there will be 200 Marines from the schoolhouse out of Fort Gregg Adams that after they complete their 3-mile run from the produce down the road to the cemetery, we're going to fit 200 Marines in here over a period of time touring the home. And that's
Nice.
our 3rd year doing that. And we held our first official Marine Corps ceremony last December. The Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps Security Force Regiment, Yorktown, who is so passionate about the grounds here, he said, my retirement will be there in the front yard. So we're getting more attention, and that's why we're hoping we'll have weddings, receptions, re-enlistments to get it back out there. So we're very happy at how much movement we're getting, momentum, getting the word out there that we're here. Come,
Nice.
come visit us.
Nice, that's cool. So tell us a little bit about your Marine Corps career.
I enlisted in February of '83 out of Dallas, Texas. I ended up retiring in 2008 out of Marine Barracks 8th and I, just shy of 26 years. I was an 01 administrator, Remington Raider, got warrant officer commission about halfway through. And when I got up to Staff Sergeant E6, picked up warrant officer and told the promotion board the day it convened for CW05 that I was going to take a pass. I was having some issues with PTSD. I was out of control. I knew I was, and I knew it was just going to continue to wreck the family if I took on 5 and went back to Iraq. And so I decided, at 8th and I, you are in the backyard of the commandant. This is the pinnacle. You don't go back to me. Going back out to the fleet was going back down the ladder, and I wanted to go out on my terms.
Yeah.
And so I decided to drop my papers the day my CW05 board convened, and I was 3 of 6 and had, the combat awards and everything. And it was great knowing I was good enough, but it was time to move on, in which, in hindsight, again, everything's written for 6 months after I retired, my wife was diagnosed with cervical cancer. I had to go through radiation and chemo. Don't know how I would have done that as a humanitarian transfer. And so there was a reason why I made that right decision. So, but it was a heck of a career. I did everything from being on staffs of commandants to being on General Petraeus' staff in Iraq as his J1 personnel officer.
Nice.
I couldn't have asked for a better career. Daughter born in Okinawa, one born in Bethesda. So it was a wonderful career, 2 degrees paid for the Marine Corps. So again, it was everything had just worked out perfect. I only got orders one time by the monitors. Everything after that was by name. Our former commanding officer at Bangor, Washington, Nate and I, when he got to Okinawa, he said, find Childress, get him out here. Or out to Bangor, to Bangor. And then after that, it was like, find Childress, get him here. I only had one tour where monitors sent me where. So after that, and when you establish a name for yourself, it's amazing how people hand select you to follow them. So to be successful in what we do, you surround yourself by the most professional, accomplished people, and you'll do well.
Yeah. Well, they said that a lot about me. They're like, fine Coons, but the end result was different than what yours was. So
that was more like he's UA, fine Coons.
Where's Corporal Coons at? Yeah, get his ass in here. Come here, boy. I miss parts of the Marine Corps. I think my favorite part of the Marine Corps was the Marine Corps birthday. I love the Marine Corps birthday. It's the one time a year that the Chow Hall has something called texture, talent, taste, and cooking that shit right? We had steak and we had shrimp. So what's your favorite part of the Marine Corps?
I would say the Marine Corps Ball, same thing, because for many years I was the adjutant because of the nature of being a warrant officer. And I love being out there on the spotlight. At 8th and I, my final year, I was a marching flanking officer, and there's nothing more amazing getting out there. You turn around that corner, all those lights on, all those people out there on the stands, and getting out there to march for everyone. It's the ceremonial. So between Marine Corps balls and ceremonies, there's just something about putting on that dress blue uniform and having all those girls drooling over here and out there and just throwing that sword around and giving those commands. And that was my high, getting out there and being a part of the show.
Yeah. Hey, Andrea, come here. Oh.
Yes.
We're also going to make sure we recognize the United States Navy because we are Department of the Navy, the men's department. And so you were in the Navy.
Yes, that was the best part of the Navy is they had me.
Yeah. You were like a Navy SEAL or something, right?
Yes, very close, very close. I was a photographer. You know this.
Was that a combat photographer?
No, I couldn't be a combat photographer. They actually took the guns away from combat photographers about the time I was in because they kept shooting themselves.
Yeah, I believe that. Well,
Little known fact.
yeah. So tell us something cool about the Navy. I don't know shit about the Navy except for they drive us around and we take their girlfriends.
Oh my goodness. I don't think that's true. I think that's a rumor.
I'm pretty quite confident that's true.
Do you want to know one interesting fact about the Navy?
Yes.
Do you know that the Navy has more aircraft than the Air Force?
I did not know that.
Yes, that is true. So a lot of people don't know that. They think we're just ships, but we're not. We have a lot of aviators and more aircraft than the Air Force.
Who knew? And, hey, I'm trying to think.
Keep going. I know it's hard for you.
I know. When you guys are taking us places, do you have like the little blue Uber light on the front of the ship like the cars do? Or,
Yeah, we do. We do. That's how you know it's us.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, I will leave a 5-star review and a tip for the next ship. That's for sure.
We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the Puller House?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So can I just say something? I am so grateful and excited to be here. I didn't even know I'm sorry. I did not know who Chesty Puller was until maybe a month ago. And the more I learn, I'm just like seriously overcome. Like I've been like just very emotional being in this home. And for all of you guys out there listening, if you don't know who Chesty Puller is, just start learning because he's such an amazing piece of history. And Alex, I really want to say thank you so much for opening your home. And what I find so incredible, because Wes and I talk, 2 things I want to say about it real quick. When you say that everything was like divinely laid out, right? 40 years ago, we actually talk about how Wes's journey was laid out from that first day joining the military, right?
Yeah.
So it's so incredible to hear you say that as well, and just such a reminder that our lives, there's such divine intervention. And thank you for sharing that story. Thank you for sharing this home. And I don't know, I'm just grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And it's your home just as much as my home. And anytime you're in the area, you'd love to come visit. You just let us know. But that's what we're here for, is to share this remarkable piece of ground and let everyone else appreciate it as much as we do.
Yeah, it's really cool. I know you haven't listened to the podcast yet, and your wife is starting to listen to it. She called Nate on the way here. I thought she was going to say we couldn't come.
Really?
Because he said, "Oh, are you talking about the podcast?" I'm like, maybe there's too much stuff on there because it was the haunted house and the haunting and stuff. The first episode talks about the darkest day, and that was the last day I picked my weapon up with the intention of harming myself, because that time going through being tormented was so bad. I was trying to figure out a way how to take my own life. And I remembered my dog Kennedy she's like, my German Shepherd's trying to protect me. And finally I was like, look, there's nowhere to go because they could follow us and they're just crawling on me. And I said, just fucking lay down and go to sleep. They can't hurt us. And that triggered something, that they couldn't kill me. And it reminded me of this one day in Marine Corps boot camp where the drill instructor took us back at Parris Island and let the bugs eat on us for a while. And he wanted to instill discipline with us. And I remember God had that happen. He had that drill instructor do that to show me that I can survive something that was not being captured in combat, but a different type of combat 30 years later, whatever it was. And that was the last time I put my weapon down with the intention of hurting myself. The Marine Corps saved my life there. You know, everything's connected.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So Nate, tell us about your Marine Corps career, brother.
My Marine Corps career. Well, I had no intention of joining the Marine Corps at all. Actually, I was in 1996. I took a friend to the Marine Corps recruiting office, and he didn't qualify, and I had a high school diploma. And next thing, they're looking at me and asking me if I was fulfilled in my life at the time or what I was doing. And I looked at him like, no, not really. But I ended up putting my hand up and swearing in. probably within an hour of him trying to convince me. And next thing, I had to go home and tell my girlfriend I had listened into the Marine Corps. So, but later on, my girlfriend became my wife. And then after that, my first duty station happened to be Naval Submarine Base Bangor in '97. And so that's when I first met Alex, and he was really my boss and kind of took me under his wing and kind of showed me a ropes. I came in as an administrator, 01, 21 back then, and now we're all 01 11s. So, but yeah, 01 21 was a specific MOS at the time, SRB clerk. But that first enlistment, I learned everything from Alex, and he taught me from just everything from the basics of administration, and he kept this book in his office called the Bible, and it was the Priam at the time. And he was like, "What does it say in the Priam?" Right? He would never give us the answers. He would always force us to look up the answers ourselves, right? And that was great because it showed us. Well, it kind of forced us to look for the answer ourselves rather than go for the quick one. Yeah. And so I use that even throughout my whole military career. Like when I was teaching individuals, teaching my junior Marines as well, I was like, look up the answer, right? And from that, but like my first enlistment, like that laid the foundation of my career because of the success I had, working underneath Alex. I mean, he obviously saw some good in me. I mean, I was a very timid guy. I was very quiet, whatever, but he saw something in me probably I didn't see in myself. But with that, I was meritorious Lance Corporal, right? And I was winning boards for Marine of the Month. And nice. Then next thing you know, I was a meritorious Corporal and Marine NCO of the Quarter, right? I was on this path, right? And then eventually I got meritorious Sergeant, but then I ended up picking up on the first, so that kind of weighed that out. But then I also got Marine of the Year in 2000. And that was like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was like the Marine of all Marines at the time, right? Just administration clerk, kicking the shit out of all these other Marines that really thought, yeah, I mean, you guys are just pencil pushers, But I held my ground and I kept up with them and I worked at it.
Did the work, man.
And I had a lot of support, not only from Alex, but from my family at home as well, and the friends that I had in that career or at that duty station at the time, and it really just laid the foundation for myself. And didn't know if I wanted to make the Marine Corps a career from that, but because of that, it just kind of propelled me into this. And here I am. I was in the Marine Corps for almost 25 years after that and retired back in 21 and still kept in contact with Alex. And here we are, coming full circle and sitting in the Puller house, right? And in the living room having this conversation and kind of thinking back of like all those things from back then of like what it led to this moment in time.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. My service, I went in as a 0352 tow gunner, and I did 6 years, and I just wasn't going to stay. It's interesting hearing you guys talk about your career and what that looked like. I mean, our career was you fucking work out 2 or 3 hours in the morning, you work out 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon, you wait around, then you go out drinking, and then you get in a fight, then you get in a drinking, then you take the Navy girlfriends from the Navy guys. That's hard work because there's so many of them that see us, and this just happens that way. I'm proud of you guys. I think you did a wonderful job, and I think that's very interesting. I like how your career set up differently, and I think if I had something like that, I probably would have stayed in. But after the first Gulf War, they re-enlisted one dude in my MLS, and I'm like, well, one of my proudest moments was hitting that front gate at about 87 miles an hour. And the guy's like, I'm going to get you when you come back. I'm like, the fuck you are. He might still be there. It's been 32 years or something. But one of my proudest moments, my Uncle Robert received the Medal of Honor in Vietnam. And after infantry school, I got to go to MCRD, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego, and they at the time was a $10 million building. So if you've been in San Diego, that really big training building that you went to, I think it's octagon shaped, that is Burke Hall, Burke Hall, and that's my Uncle Robert. And he died in Tet Offense of 1968. He at the time was the youngest service member to receive the Medal of Honor, and he's the second youngest now. There's another young man, I think he was a Marine too, that received the Medal of Honor. Doing that, and then graduating boot camp, then coming here are some of my tier 1 top things that I've got to experience in the Marine Corps. So that's really cool. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thanks for sharing that. Nate had mentioned that, and I didn't get the name. Now I'm going to look it up real quick, because I have a book that has all the Congressional Medal of Honor recipients, and I'd love to learn more about your uncle.
Yeah, so he was a badass. You and I and him and maybe a few others I know I had an opportunity to go speak to the judge when I was a young man, and he said, I can't do anything more than what the Marine Corps is going to do to you. So he threw out my case, and the Marine Corps straightened me out and gave me an opportunity to become something better than I was. And I liked doing things for people, and I just liked everything about it. I just wasn't going to make my career out of it. So, Andrea.
Yes, Wesley?
What else are we talking about today?
What, am I supposed to know? Or
yeah, I think you're supposed to know. I'm thinking.
Do you want me to say what else we're going to do? Or sometimes you're setting me up for a joke that I'm not aware of.
No. Well, I know we were going to talk about, if we're talking about Marines, and this is going to be on the Marine Corps birthday right before Veterans Day. One of the things we wanted to say is acknowledge the other branches and services and say thank you for your sacrifice. And not only the service member, but your family, your husband, your wife, your children, because they sacrifice too.
Yes, and I think we had a couple more things we wanted to do. We were going to do some facts about Chesty and maybe some quotes. That Chesty has some great quotes.
Yeah.
Right? And so we're going to do that, and then we have like a special ending. So what do you want to do now?
Let's do the quotes.
Okay. All right, so for those of you who are not very familiar with Chesty, I think one of the most interesting things that I have found out about him since doing some research is he would say some of the greatest things, and he has he has some of the greatest quotes I've ever heard. So do you mind if I read a few?
Yeah, I feel like I say the greatest things too, and people just shake their heads. So
well, yeah. We're going to do a special episode of West quotes sometime in the near future.
Yeah, so there's that.
Yeah, that's going to be the number one. So there's that. Okay, so let me get this so I can read it.
Yeah, if you weren't 4 foot fucking tall.
I know. I'm 5'5", people. That's the perfect height.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple of them here. Okay, so one of them is, they're on our left, they're on our right, they're in front of us. They can't get away from us this time. And that is something he was quoted as saying when he was surrounded by 8 enemy divisions during World War II. That's badass, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love it.
It's like how life happens for you and not to you. If it happened to him, we're surrounded, we're in trouble. It happened for us because now we've got plenty of fuckers to kill.
Got him right where you want him.
Yeah, we don't have to go look for him.
All right. Let's see. Oh, this one I loved because I feel like it goes right along that same vein. And it says, you can't run away from trouble. There ain't no place that far.
I hadn't heard that one. That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, I think a lot of us try to run away from that shit on a regular basis, don't we?
All right. This is one okay, two more. Okay. One is, we're not surrounded. We're in a target-rich environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't that great? I love that. People, it's all about how you look at things.
Yeah.
Chesty was amazing at that. Okay, and the last one I'm going to read is, we're not retreating. We're just advancing in a different direction.
That's right. Marines don't retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just advancing in a different direction.
Right.
I love it.
I think that picture on the wall of him right there, his grin just got a little bit bigger here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget who said it. One of the commandants, he said, "Be kind, something like be polite, but have a plan to kill everybody in the room." I like that. I like that. And some of my friends just look at me and don't understand.
No, that seems like a very Marine Corps thing.
It is. Hey, we're not here. We're not Boy Scouts. We ain't helping people cross the street. We're the greatest fighting force in the world.
Yes.
United States Marine Corps.
And the Navy is happy to take you anywhere in the world you need to go.
Yeah. Did you know that we are such a fierce fighting force that the Germans in World War I named us devil dogs? They said that the devil opened the gates of hell and let us out. They are terrified of us.
Devil dog comes from.
Devil
I love
dog,
it.
Yeah. And what was one we were talking about a couple weeks ago? was it Panama or something? I forget what it was. No, maybe Grenada. I don't know. We were supposed to take in this little area, and the Marines ended up taking 80% of the island, and the enemy was running. The enemy was running to the Army for protection. I'm like, they ain't going to protect you. They're weak as shit too. But we took 80% to their 20%. And one of the things they taught us and told us in the Marine Corps is we don't have a budget. We don't have cool tools. What we have is a willingness to never give up, to fight, to be ruthless, be vicious. And there's nothing more dangerous than a Marine and his weapon, because we will fucking hurt you.
Yeah.
And that's what we went with, because we didn't have any cool tools, man. I mean, hell, the 3/4 of the time I was in the first Gulf War, I didn't even have ammunition. I'm like, can we have some ammo? They're like, no. I'm like, okay. So the funny thing is, when you put your clip in your weapon, it looks like you have ammunition in your weapon, and then you just look pretty mean and they leave you alone.
Yeah. Is it really about increasing your acting skills at that point?
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. So my lieutenant would make me go out in town and do things. I'm like, well, can I have some ammo? He's like, no. I'm like, all right. So
Here's an empty clip.
yeah, here's an empty clip. I mean, it's a true story. I was a little nervous, but I'm like, you just look mean as shit and they leave you alone. They don't know. So there's that.
There's that.
Yeah. So one of the things we wanted to talk about is this thing called 22 a day. That 22 veterans a day commit suicide. And you can't honor our military if we leave the people out that are suffering. Doesn't make sense to me. We suffer in silence. I've heard that so many times, and it's true. And what that means is somebody who has served in the armed forces is struggling. They don't know how to ask for help. They can't ask for help, or they call the VA or something, and they're falling on deaf ears. And what I would say is, if you live with a veteran or you have a friend that's a veteran, pick up the phone and talk to them. Tell them that they're important. Give them a hug. You never know when something that simple.
Something as simple as a text message can change someone's whole life.
Yeah. My friend Scott Funk's not here. Yeah. He took his own life, and I love Scott. And you see these people that go through these things. And somebody told me one time that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. So we don't want to take Chesty's episode and go down a drain with it, but we need to honor those people. We need to honor the fallen, the ones that have given, sacrificed their life. My Uncle Robert received the Medal of Honor in Vietnam. My friend Ron Gregory, missing piece of his leg his entire life from being in Vietnam. Watching these warriors, men and women, that go in these places and do this job. And we just want to say we respect you, we care about you, you're important, and you're loved, and you're needed. So don't forget that.
Yes, and as we take this time, as we head into the Marine Corps birthday and Veterans Day, we just want to honor the courage and sacrifices of our nation's heroes. It's also a sobering reminder of the challenges many veterans face once their service ends. Every day, an estimated 22 veterans take their own lives, a staggering statistic that highlights the ongoing mental health crisis in our veteran community. Issues like PTSD, depression, and the difficult transition to civilian life often leaves our veterans feeling isolated and overwhelmed. Like Wes said, please reach out to a veteran. The establishment of the Veterans Crisis Line and other initiatives have provided critical support, but we still have a long way to go. Let today be a reminder that our duty to our veterans doesn't end when they take off their uniform. They need our support, our understanding, our compassion every day, because no hero should ever feel that they have no way out. Help is available. 988 is the suicide and crisis lifeline, and is available 24/7.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? There is a beacon of light. Have I told you about the beacon of light?
Tell me about it.
every Marine that I know, or at least most of them, have an American flag in the front yard and a Marine Corps flag. Do you know why they have a Marine Corps flag?
No, Wes, why do they have a Marine Corps flag?
So all the other services can look to see where they can go for help if they're scared.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like a beacon of light. It's like that Batman thing. It says, hey, Navy, Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, whatever you might be, come here and we'll protect you, little birds. Yeah.
And during the zombie apocalypse, like, that's where you go to, right? Hopefully then you have real ammunition and not just like an empty clip.
Darling, if the Army and Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they'll find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. Even God has said, these guys are just badass. They're the greatest fighting force in the universe, and they're the only ones that are going to guard the gates of heaven.
I love it.
Yeah. We did that episode where they showed me the entrance to hell. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. I almost went.
Don't go.
Yeah. I thought about it. Hey, Nate, have you heard that episode yet?
No, I have to be reminded. You have to remind me.
Yeah. It's the episode where I am at the concert and they show me the opening of the gates of hell and I'm contemplating going in and I heard a voice said, come in. And that's the devil's voice, I think is what we named that episode. His confidence fucking freaked me out, dude. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll think about it. And I asked Archangel Michael, and he came in, and he came and he grabbed me and he pulled me away. And it was a bizarre experience. I've got many bizarre experiences, but I could feel him pushing his wings down and taking me away. And I'm like, one Marine against the entire dark forces of the devil? Pfft, what could go wrong? So we chose to do that a different day.
So there's that.
There's that. There's that. And I don't know. Just everything about the Marine Corps I love. And so thank you for everybody that's listening. Thank you for everybody that served. Thank you for everybody who has family members that served. And thank you for having us to your beautiful home. We appreciate that.
I just want to throw in a couple more things here, going back to your quotes. My favorite that Nate and I would probably better relate to was when Chesty said, take me to the brig to see the real Marines.
Yes.
Because we always this long dispute about good conduct males. You're not a real Marine, at least you've had 2 NGPs. So that's my favorite. And we have got some coffee mugs in the butcher's pantry. And my wife put many of those quotes on all the mugs. So when you get the opportunity to come here and have coffee with us, when you grab your mug, not only is Chesty on one side with his portrait from Korea, but it'll have some of his quotes on there. And secondly, you touched on the 22 kill, which is something that's very near and dear to my heart. The blessings that I've had in my life to even have this opportunity to buy this home, I'm a big believer in paying it forward. So I was blessed about 5 years ago to start my own business. And we've partnered with various organizations like 22 Kill, Wounded Warrior, Homes for Our Troops, Spirit of a Hero, and the Gallant Few, and the Wreaths of Honor. And every year we spend a lot of money helping out all those organizations because it feels like the right thing to do to help to give back. And then in closing, I'm not ashamed to admit I am a suicide survivor prior to joining the Marine Corps. Obviously, I lied about that to get in.
Yeah.
So when people say, I don't understand, it's so selfishly, unless you know what it's like to have gotten to such depths that it consumes your mind to where it outweighs rational thinking, and then that becomes the most logical thought. I know for many of us, we're in denial. We don't want to show weakness. I was older. I was 23 when I went to boot camp. So for me to go to Iraq when I was, 50-something years old, I was in denial, and that was part of the reason why I retired. It got so bad that they told the Armory that I was at-risk behavior. I was not allowed to have access to my weapon, but I was in denial. And I don't even think I've told my family that. So thanks for not sharing my last name.
Yeah.
So I do understand that, and that was part of my motivation. I knew it wasn't going to end well. So it is something that we have to understand. There's nothing wrong with admitting you're weak. We all have seen and done things. I was born, raised Catholic. To this day, my mother has never remarried after 40 years because she, unless she got absolved by the Pope. And for me to do something that was totally contrary to everything I had learned in life, and it just, for some people, it just does things when you see and do things that human beings were not supposed to see and do.
Yeah.
So there's nothing, I learned unfortunately too late, but that was my weaknesses. I was in such a state of denial it almost tore the family apart.
Yeah.
So there's Marines out there, if you're listening, if you're struggling, there's nothing wrong with reaching forward and saying, hey, I'm having some thoughts. I think I need to talk to somebody, because no matter how bad it gets, nothing can be as bad as taking your own life. It's just, everything can be worked out. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for having the courage to share that, because we take turns saving each other in this life. And that's why I tell the story of the haunted house and the things I've gone through and the addiction and stuff like that. There was more than a few times where, that was an opportunity that I just wasn't able to step through, but it was there. And we talk about in the show and we teach about in this program, and we're teaching our children in the children's books that we have, What Color's Your Dragon, is how to step into your power, and that you can shift your thinking like that you can heal something in a moment's notice. It doesn't have to take years and decades. And we teach that philosophy, and we teach those tools. And, I've kind of gotten to the point where life is just beautiful. And that, for me to say that, has taken a long time. It's taken a long time. So I appreciate you, brother Nate. I love you, man. I appreciate our new friendship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to, listening to many more podcasts and being a part of this journey.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Andrea, thank you for your service as a combat photographer.
No, I never made it to combat photography.
Yeah.
Now you're just mocking me.
Yeah, Alex, have I ever mocked her ever in my life? See, he's never seen it.
Well, and I want to just say thank you to all of you Marines here today. I feel so blessed and grateful to be here. I really, really do. I mean, this has been for me. I don't think I've gotten this emotional about anything in a long time. And Chesty, wherever you are, if you can hear me, I think you're just incredible. And I love everything that I've learned about you so far. And thank you for allowing me to step into this home. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You, Wes.
You're welcome. Chesty's here and I can hear him talk. So
What did he say?
I'm not going to repeat it.
What did he say?
He just said, you're hot. He said, you come here anytime. I'm like, all right, you dirty old bastard. I love it. But I've been blessed to be able to hear Chesty and him talk to me, and he didn't know what the podcast was. So as we're setting things up, I was able to share that with him. And if you listen to the show, you know what kind of opportunities I have for that type of work. And I don't know, it just makes for a beautiful life. And thank you so much for listening to the program. Like Gene Walters always says, tell a friend and give us a nice 5-star review. We'd appreciate it. And have a great day. And, oh, by the way, happy birthday, Marines, and happy Veterans Day to the support team of the United States Marine Corps. Yes.
Thanks.
Andrea, this has been fantastic to be at Chesty Puller's house.
Oh my gosh, Wes, I did not expect it to be so emotional and amazing and moving. It has been incredible.
This place is beautiful. The one thing that we didn't talk about is the heart of Chesty Puller, and that's his wife, Virginia.
Yes, Virginia. You can really feel her in this home.
Absolutely. Her favorite area was this little sun porch off the back of the side of the house here. And with my gifts, I've been able to talk to Chesty. We heard from Virginia a little bit too. And so I did a little research, and his daughter said that they both had everything in life they wanted from each other. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, that just gave me chills.
Yeah. And Chesty said one of the hardest things he did, now this guy's the most decorated Marine in the world. This dude's a badass.
Yeah.
Was win her over and get married.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. So they met in West Point, and I guess he chased her for a couple years before she finally said yes. And I think she was like 97 when she died. So she just died in, I think, 2006.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The heart of Chesty Puller, we talk about how decorated he was and stuff like that, but I think he was a romantic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like he was.
He was.
Even the toughest Marine has a soft spot. Like,
hey, I'm fucking romantic. I'm a romantic guy. Hey, I just am. Yeah, it's fun. Hey, you got to put that out there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to put that out there. If you care about somebody, you got to do something. Let them know, I fucking care about you. But Marines do things big, and that's what we do. So they had 2 children, Virginia and Lewis. Lewis got hurt really bad in Vietnam.
Yeah, and while you're talking about Chesty Puller's son, Lewis Puller, I do want to mention that he wrote a book called Fortunate Son.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you were going to mention that, but definitely pick that up and see what his experience was. So we say a lot about Chesty, but there's a whole family unit that really, when you're a service member, the family unit is very important. And it's interesting to see what his son went through in Vietnam.
Yeah, it's a lot. And let us not forget about the children of the veterans, the spouse of the veterans, whether it's a man or a woman. You know, when the service member goes away, the leader of the family at home has to do both roles.
Yeah.
And then when that service member comes back, there's this transition where the whole family has a transition and stuff. It's not easy. You'll see these people on TV talking bad about the military and this and that. But you know what? They work their ass off to give that person the ability to have their opinion. I might not agree with their opinion, but I'm going to give it to them. And, you know, the service members need to be honored. They need to be respected. We deserve it. We've earned it. And so if you see somebody in uniform or you know somebody that served, say, hey, thank you for your service. Especially the person that you see at Costco with a World War II hat on or something like that. They appreciate that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, did I tell you I got to meet somebody from the Tuskegee Airmen
No.
back in the day? That was the first African American. I don't know if it's the first unit, but I believe it was the first, what do you call it? The first fighter squadron.
Okay.
And they were all African Americans.
Okay.
Those dudes were freaking badasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've not looked that up, you've got to do the research. And I met somebody that was a Tuskegee Airman
Oh,
a
wow.
couple years ago. It's one of the best honors
Yeah.
of my life. It was really cool. So that was fun. So we just want to say thank you. We wanted to make sure that we recognized Virginia and the family of the Puller family. And Alex was so nice to invite us. Nate brought us out. It was really nice.
Yeah, thank you to everyone who made it possible. It ended up being probably one of the best times of my life.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. Semper Fi means, don't you?
No.
It's always faithful. That's the Marine Corps', that's our code. That's our, whatever the fuck you call it. That's our deal.
Whatever the fuck you call it, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget what you call that. And,
Our motto, maybe?
Yeah, our motto, something like that. I mean, our motto used to be kill them all and let God figure it
Yeah.
out, but I'm being holy and spiritual these days, so I
Yeah.
try not to say that so much. And I'm working on my cussing, can't you tell?
I've got to say, no, I can't.
Hey.
But keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, I am. Look at that. And I got these cool buttons I can
know.
press now.
I know.
So, hey, thank you for liking the show. If you haven't given us a 5-star review, we would appreciate it. We're in over 18 countries now. Our goal was to change the world and tell our story. And you can't change the world if you don't talk to the world. And we're doing that. So thank you, everybody. Hey, Russia is like the #1 country outside of the United
Yes.
States that's listening to us.
Yes.
Hey, what's up, Russia guys, man, ladies? Hit us up, man.
Yeah.
If we come to Russia, can we crash at your house?
Drop a message. We want to hear from you.
Yeah, we want some vodka. So thank you. We'll see you next episode.
You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.